Picture a man in a sharp black suit and tie, standing at the edge of an open airliner door, 10,000 feet above the freezing wilderness. Strapped to his chest is $200,000 in extorted cash. Without a word, he steps into the void. This is the enduring image of the man the media called D.B. Cooper, and that 1971 jump made him the perpetrator of the only completely unsolved commercial airplane hijacking in United States history. The reason his identity remains a ghost story today comes down to timing. He struck during a narrow window in history, exploiting an era when airport security was practically an honor system and forensic science was still in its infancy. To really understand how he slipped away, we have to pull his 1971 crime out of the past. We need to run his exact steps through a gauntlet of modern investigative techniques. What we find is a man who recognized a temporary vulnerability in commercial aviation. He leveraged a blind spot in the system that closed almost immediately after he disappeared into the rain. The timeline starts on the afternoon of November 24th at a Portland airport terminal. A man identifying himself as Dan Cooper approaches the counter. He buys a one-way ticket to Seattle using physical cash. No one asks for his ID. He walks right on to Northwest Orient Flight 305 carrying a briefcase. In a modern investigation, that initial ticket purchase instantly traps a suspect. Credit card logs, digital ticketing records, and mobile phone pings immediately establish a verified, trackable identity before the passenger even reaches security. But the FBI agents in 1971 had zero visual record of Cooper navigating the terminal. They couldn't trace his arrival, track his steps, or see if he met with accomplices beforehand. Today, an airport is a massive surveillance grid. Paired with AI facial recognition, a suspect is seamlessly tracked across dozens of overlapping cameras, plotting an exact path from the curbside drop-off directly to the gate. If a hijacker attempted this today, the friction between his physical movements and his digital footprint creates an unavoidable spotlight. Before the plane even pushes back from the gate, the overlap of his ticketing data and visual ID makes a clean escape unlikely. Shortly after takeoff, the hijacking begins. Cooper passes a note to a flight attendant, opens his briefcase to reveal what looks like a bomb, and issues a specific set of demands: $200,000, refueling truck standing by in Seattle, and 4 parachutes, just like this military-style rig. Once the ransom is delivered and the passengers are released in Seattle, Cooper orders the crew back into the air toward Mexico. He demands they fly under 10,000 feet, keep the speed at a sluggish 150 knots, and leave the cabin unpressurized. This image reveals his most critical requirement. He ordered the crew to leave the rear air stair of the Boeing 727 fully deployed during the flight. This specific demand birthed the insider theory. Investigators realized that almost no one outside of the aerospace industry or the military knew the 727 could safely remain airborne with those rear stairs down. Getting the money required a bomb threat, but physically escaping the aircraft required highly specialized technical knowledge of Boeing's mechanical tolerances. At approximately 8 p.m., Cooper walks down those deployed steps and drops into pitch black, freezing rain over the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest. He took the money, but he left 2 things behind on the empty plane: a scattering of partial fingerprints and his black clip-on necktie. The FBI launched Operation Norjack, but those fingerprints were a dead end. Because they were incomplete and mixed with prints from previous passengers, investigators couldn't definitively tie them to Cooper, leaving them without a primary suspect. Today, that same clip-on tie offers a different path. Modern labs utilize touch DNA, extracting genetic material from the microscopic skin cells trapped in the fabric's fibers. It transforms a simple piece of clothing from a discarded prop into a biological map of the suspect. On the ground, the 1971 search teams were essentially wandering blind through miles of rugged terrain. Today, a combination of mobile phone location data, thermal imaging from overhead drones, and real-time satellite tracking would lock onto his exact drop zone before he even hit the canopy. Whether or not he survived the physical impact of the fall is highly debated, but against a modern forensic dragnet, he would never survive the microscopic and digital footprint he left in the cabin. The FBI did lay one trap that stood the test of time. Before handing over the ransom, agents photographed and recorded the serial numbers of every single $20 bill in the batch. Look closely at this evidence photo. 9 years later, in 1980, a young boy digging along the Columbia River uncovered a bundle of rotting cash. The serial numbers confirmed it was exactly $5,800 of Cooper's ransom. The discovery ignited two fiercely opposed theories. The brutal condition of this wilderness suggests Cooper likely died from exposure, with his loot washing downriver. But others argue a seasoned jumper could have survived, deliberately burying a small stack of bills in the sand to throw investigators off his trail. Because not a single trace of Cooper or the rest of the money has ever materialized, those rotting bills serve as a permanent cliffhanger. We are left suspended between a mastermind's perfect escape and a desperate man's fatal mistake. The Norjack investigation officially closed after reviewing millions of documents and investigating thousands of suspects. To this day, the FBI has never identified the man who bought that ticket, nor proven if he lived to spend a single dollar. However, the hijacking triggered an immediate permanent overhaul of aviation safety. Airlines installed a mechanical lock called the Cooper vane to prevent rear stairs from opening mid-flight, and airports universally adopted mandatory passenger screening, replacing the honor system with metal detectors like this one. The enduring mystery of Flight 305 remains a benchmark for what investigators couldn't do. It serves as a historic case study that underscores the need for the forensic precision we now take for granted, ensuring that modern gaps are closed before a suspect can vanish. D.B. Cooper successfully navigated the absolute limits of 1971 security. But in pulling off the perfect crime for his era, he forced the system to evolve, ensuring that no one could ever follow him out that door again.